In the mid-1980s, while living in Southern California, I frequently visited a New Age bookstore in my area. One day, as I usually did, I was walking up and down, browsing through its aisles, taking in all the metaphysical and spiritual material, even daydreaming a bit as I took in the immensity of the store's volumes. All of a sudden, a book fell off one of the higher shelves. At least that's the way it seemed to happen. I picked it up off the floor. Looking at its title, I became intrigued. Intermediate Studies in Alchemy by Saint Germain. I decided it was an auspicious sign, and I bought the book. Became fascinated with its contents, including the concept of the cloud. After this, I was off and running in the teachings as I started giving decrees, buying more summit books, and traveling from San Diego to LA to witness my first dictation, which was Mother Mary and Archangel Raphael. I started attending weekly services at the local teaching center. Shortly after that, I met Donna one Sunday when she came to the teaching center. We shared a songbook when singing to Mother Mary. A few months later, we decided to get married and made the trek to Montana to be close to the Royal Teton Ranch. It was over 8 years of immersing ourselves in the teachings as we traveled to and from the ranch at all times of the day and night and in all types of weather to attend classes, conferences, and dictations. 1996, we moved to Chicago, found the teaching center there, later became involved with Carl and Nancy, SAF, and eventually becoming ordained ministers. It has been the ride of a lifetime. Since my first encounter with Saint Germain, I have worked with many masters only to find myself now back where I started, with Saint Germain and alchemy. Thank you, Saint Germain. Praise God for putting me under your tutelage. Today's teaching is dedicated in deepest love, gratitude, and devotion to our master alchemist and holy brother, Saint Germain. Our discourse today is a compilation from many, many sources on alchemy and the cloud. It has been a major initiation for me as I was asked to present this 2 weeks earlier than I was planning. Thank you, beloved masters, who helped me pull this together so quickly. Throughout his embodiment, Saint Germain showed that miracles are nothing more than the natural outgrowth of the practice of spiritual alchemy. Over 50,000 years ago, Saint Germain was ruler of a golden age civilization in a fertile country where the Sahara Desert now is. Also 13,000 years ago, he was a high priest of the Violet Flame Temple and a master of invocation in the order of Zadkiel on the mainland of Atlantis. In the 11th century BC, Saint Germain was embodied as the prophet Samuel. At the time of Christ, as Saint Joseph, he was the father of Jesus and husband of Mary. In the late 3rd century, our holy brother lived as Saint Alban, the first martyr of Britain. Later on in the 5th century, Saint Germain was a famous alchemist, prophet, and counselor at the court of King Arthur, the great wizard Merlin. Fast forward to the 13th century, he returned as Roger Bacon, philosopher, Franciscan monk, educational reformer, and experimental scientist, castigating the scholars and scientists of his day for their narrow-mindedness. In the 15th century, he was embodied as Christopher Columbus, discoverer of America. Saint Germain returned in the 16th century as Francis Bacon, philosopher, statesman, essayist, and literary master. Bacon, who has been called the greatest mind the West ever produced, is known as the father of inductive reasoning and the scientific method, which to a great degree is responsible for the age of technology in which we now live. On May 1st, 1684, Saint Germain entered the ritual of the Ascension from the Rakasi Mansion, retreat of the Great White Brotherhood. But this wasn't enough time on earth for our beloved Saint Germain, as he sought and was granted a dispensation from the Lords of Karma to return in a physical body. He appeared as the Le Comte Saint Germain, a miraculous gentleman who dazzled the courts of 18th century Europe, where they called him the Wonder Man. He was an alchemist, scholar, linguist, poet, musician, artist, raconteur, and diplomat, admired to the courts of Europe for his adeptship. Voltaire, the renowned French writer, historian, and philosopher, described him as the man who never dies and knows everything. In the latter part of the 18th century, Saint Germain received from the Lady Master Kuan Yin her office as Chohan of the Seventh Ray. And in the 20th century, Saint Germain stepped forth once again to sponsor outer activities of the Great White Brotherhood. In the early 1930s, he trained Guy Ballard as a messenger who released the foundation of Saint Germain's instruction for the New Age in books, Unveiled Mysteries, The Magic Presence, and the I Am Discourses. 1961, Saint Germain contacted his embodied representative, Mark L. Prophet. His purpose was to quicken all who had originally come to earth with Sana Kumara, to restore the memory of their ancient vow and reason for being on earth today. Together with his twin flame, the Ascended Lady Master Portia, he is a hierarch of the Aquarian Age and the sponsor of Freedom's Flame. Saint Germain is known far and wide throughout cosmos as the master alchemist. He comes to impart to us the highest understanding of the mysteries of God through the mastery of spiritual alchemy, the science of self-transformation. This sacred science enables us to access universal light and draw forth a greater measure of cosmic energy and to qualify that energy correctly. It's the science of the mystic, and it is the forte of the self-realized man and woman. If we want to bring in a golden age, then a new man, a new woman must emerge from the social moulaire. A new Atlantean must step forth clothed with the righteousness of the sun, a golden man for the golden age. This is the master alchemist. This newly resurrected man and woman whom Christ is born, in whom there is a transfiguring glory, is resurrected by the power of change, by the science of divine alchemy, which is used to create nobility in the soul and virtue everywhere. It produces a change in self that will bring man and woman closer to their real image. The master alchemist holds each day as a chalice of opportunity to live free and to make all free. Saint Germain teaches that souls are not free unless we are engaged in creating. The secrets of alchemy are always found in the domain of creation. The identity of the alchemist is always found in the mandate, create. If we have not the power to create, we are not truly free. If you are not exercising your creative potential, then to you, freedom is only a word. We are summoned as sons and daughters of God to be co-creators. We are destined to obey the original fiat of God, take dominion over the earth. The key to becoming an adept is our ability to produce change at will. You might ask, how can I accomplish this? Well, our Holy Brother tells us that one of the most effective means by which change can be produced is through the creation of the cloud. This process is a deep and wondrous secret held by many of the Eastern and Western adepts. It is the means whereby man can alter his destiny. However, this teaching has been all too neglected, explains our beloved Sananda, chief of the Indian Council of the Great White Brotherhood. This neglect is to the hurt of the individual chela, and sometimes, alas, to the organization itself. This ritual was released years ago because its use is an absolute necessity in your life. What if I were to tell you that the creation of the cloud is like a magician's trick, ever available up the sleeve of the chela, ready to be drawn forth when all the world arrays itself against the truth in which you stand? What if I were to tell you that this is one of the most powerful alchemical formulas for gaining spiritual power and to produce constructive change both in yourself and in the world? Would you use it regularly then? Realize then to bring about change is a creative act, and no one should ever assume that by mere scientific or mechanical ritual he will be able to perform the highest types of alchemical manifestation. For the highest alchemy, the greatest change is that which changes man into a god, wherein the Son becomes one with the Father, and this can never be accomplished by mechanical means. You are about to create, and you will create the cloud from the enormous power of God stored at every point in space, waiting to be invoked. Light is the alchemical key. The words "let there be light" is the first fiat of creation and the first step in proper precipitation. Our study today deals with the control and release of energy. Recognize that light is an energy substance universally manifesting on Earth. Consider that throughout universal space and suspended in that space are focal points of light that are sealed as God potential, as a resource waiting to be invoked, to be magnetized to your aura. The creation of the cloud allows you to concentrate these millions of focal points of light into a brilliant, pulsating cloud of infinite energy. This cloud is nowhere manifest until this light is summoned by you into action. Alchemists understand light as the alchemical key to precipitation. Alchemists understand light not only its known visible aspects, but in its invisible characteristics as well. Alchemists understand light is synonymous with energy, the energy of God. Light is self-luminous and intelligent substance coming from the mind of God. Light is the core of the atom, that these minute specks of physical matter, of energy, that are atomic in nature, are composed of particles of light held within orbital paths prescribed and imbued with intelligent action. Light is the Christ consciousness and emanates from the consciousness of God. So therefore, when we refer to light, it is synonymous with energy, sacred fire, matter, atoms, and consciousness. Recognize that there are two main types of energy called kinetic and potential. Kinetic energy is the energy of movement. Potential energy is stored energy, the energy stored internally in an object. For example, skiing is a form of kinetic energy. Batteries, on the other hand, are potential energy. So think about this. In every inch of space is stored the energy of God. Think about that. Atoms being the batteries of this stored energy that can be released as light. So how much energy is stored in the nucleus of an atom? The answer is quite a lot, compared to how small the particle actually is. Einstein's special theory of relativity includes the equation, which we all know, E = mc squared. But what does it really mean? It really means that the energy in matter is equivalent to its mass multiplied by the speed of light. Now think about that. The small particle, whatever it weighs, the energy in there is equal to the speed of light squared. I mean, it's incredible power. In fact, this energy is equivalent to what is produced by burning 1 million gallons of gasoline. Incredible. The energy equivalent stored in one atom is like the energy contained in 1 million gallons of gasoline. So in the creation of the cloud of infinite energy, we are drawing upon the stored universal power of God to produce a brilliant, pulsating cloud of God, an electronic vibratory action of vital, moving, and effable light. So when Saint Germain mentors us that infinite energy is everywhere present, but nowhere manifest until it is called into action, he is teaching us that in every point of space, there is potential energy, stored energy that can be magnetized, concentrated, activated, and used by us through the science of spiritual alchemy. Now stop here for a moment and ponder the concept of accessing God's infinite energy. Don't just let the words pass through you without considering their gravity. Infinite energy. I say infinite energy. Scientists have dreamed about creating infinite energy since time immemorial. Infinite means infinite. Our Ascended Master John the Beloved explains, if you have infinite energy, then the wise dominion of your 4 lower bodies will enable you to serve to a ripe old age, will guarantee your self-mastery, your ascension, and that many, many souls will come into the communion of the Lord by the work of your hand. Thus you serve by the descending Niagara of light of the I am that I am, which is closer and closer to you. For this is the known God and the known cloud of infinite energy. The creation of infinite energy, according to Saint Germain, can be at your disposal. This energy can be concentrated in our auras, not only recharging us, but can be released into the universe, hallowing space as it expands. When we are dealing with such power as the infinite, we must closely examine our motives. Motives are subtle. You must examine them. Great masters like Saint Germain, Kuthumi, Dwell, Kulel, Moria, the Lord Jesus, or adepts who command infinite energies, who perform feats that you could scarcely dream of in the rearrangement of matter, mountains, manifestations of man. Yet they are the most humble and the most childlike before the altar of God. Examine what your motive is for using God's enormous power. Alchemy is not a devilish means of bringing forth riches and honor. It is a spiritual, all-loving science of changing the base metals that make up the synthetic image of man into the pure gold of the real image, that he may implement his wise dominion over the earth. Remember the fiat, take dominion. Saint Germain teaches that students on the path of many years fail to perceive wrong motive and go off on tangents, and they want to use the decrees and the decree books to make their self-will come true. And instead of taking their index from the will of God, they take their index from this wishful, willful thinking, taking God's light, forcing it into a matrix that it does not want to go into, and then wondering why at the end of the road, everything collapses and doesn't work. And perhaps even blaming the law itself for one's personal failure to submit oneself upon the altar. This reminds me of the central warning of the 1956 classic science fiction film, Forbidden Planet. In the movie, explorers discover the remnants of an advanced alien civilization who are known as the Krell, and attempt to uncover its secrets while under attack from an invisible monster. The great reveal of the movie, the peaceful Krell created machinery so advanced that they had access to infinite energy. The machine turned desire into matter. It translated their every thought into reality. But even the most rational Krell were evolved from creatures less noble, and at the center of every Krell brain still hid a lizard core, a place of base instinct, a place of pure id. The Krell's machinery faithfully transformed even the deepest, darkest subconscious impulse into a literal monster from the id, eventually wiping one another out. The explorers realized dramatically that the invisible monster they fight is in fact themselves. This narrative is instructive to maintain purity of motive as we engage in the creation of the cloud process. Because if there is an introduction of hatred or even mild dislike of anyone, or harboring feelings of criticism, jealousy, and irritation, or an attempt to interfere with the cosmic flow of the infinite plan through any part of life, whether in ignorance or with the intent to bring harm to other life streams, such activity will, of course, create a karmic situation that will prove most unfortunate to the individual who allows his energies to become so engaged. Beware, you're dealing with sacred creative power. Beware, it is better for you to ask the masters to interject their ideas for you without necessarily defining or releasing them to your conscious mind than for you to be carried away from the tether of the alchemical norm. You must maintain Christ-like qualities, and above all, be not carried away by pride or by the exaltation of self over others. It is critical that your consciousness be kept pure during the creation process, charged with love, aware of the infinite potential of the cosmic mind of God, and completely identified with all constructive momentums. The alchemist must be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Now, what is this mighty cloud that we have or will create, this force field of vibrating energy, and why did we create it in the first place? Actually, whereas Saint Germain uses the word create, it would be more appropriate if perhaps he used the word magnetize, for we're actually magnetizing that which is everywhere present in space. We're amplifying an intense action of the light from within its own force field, more than would normally manifest in a given area. We are thereby drawing upon universal God power to produce this cloud of infinite energy. We are multiplying through these billions of focal points of light, the X factor of God's consciousness right within our own aura. Intensifying the aura has to do with consciousness, filling consciousness with that which is God, God as energy, God as life. We are creating a spiritual altar of universal light, of cosmic consciousness, upon which we may project the pictures of reality that we desire to create. Thus, intensification of the power of the aura can assist us in all of our creative acts, can assist us in precipitating that which we desire. Hence, we achieve in the space that is our identity, that is our immediate environment, a hallowing effect, whereby life becomes sacred, and even the perfume fragrances that emanate from the auras of the saints can be experienced. The light and fire of the cloud can free you from the mediocrity of the present age, as well as from the degradations of past ages and their cumulative effects upon the human psyche. This cloud of infinite energy can help us gather up the parts of self and fragments that we have vested in others as a portion of identity lost. Mother Mary told us it can help us define our identity, and as the cloud intensifies and solidifies, it does contain in itself a universe of your selfhood. This is the making of the pearl of self. You can realize through the cloud the full perfection of your glorious I Am presence and rend the veil of the Holy of Holies to commune with the Most High as Moses did in the Sinai desert. It is the means whereby man can gain spiritual power and alter his destiny. This brilliant pulsating cloud can be a platform to invoke, as Christ did upon the Mount of Transfiguration, the presence of the ascended masters to assist you, not only in your alchemical experiments, but also in your ministrations to life. Christ was able to produce the miracles recorded in the Gospels and many more because he had first mastered the correct use of energy. He called this holy energy Father, and Father being the spirit of all manifestation. The Father is all-loving, all-knowing, and all-powerful, and he will make you all that he is. But we have only begun to touch upon the correct use of his energy. Therefore, develop in your consciousness a proper attitude that will enable you to function under the guidance of your own God presence in Christ's self, as an efficient co-creator with God and the brotherhood of light to create abundant living for all. The alchemist should meditate on the Master's words, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. The cloud is the manifestation of the power of your creative energy. The fire of your spirit will draw into your world the very consciousness of God himself, evoked from the central pores of being and beautifully expanding as an altar of God. The cloud will hallow space wherever it expands. Wherever your cloud goes, you are there. Your cloud in reality is yourself. Thus, it is the beginning of your ability to bilocate, to be more and more in one place at a time, something I know that we all would like to be able to do. As you gain spiritual power in these periods of meditation upon the cloud, which should at first not exceed 15 minutes a day, try to understand that the creative cloud, once it is dispersed by your fiat at the conclusion of your creative ceremony, will continue to expand and expand and expand throughout the universe as a globe of translucent white fire, eddying in ever-widening spheres to contact all that is real and all that is really yours. Moreover, this cloud can be used not only for personal transformation, but for planetary change as well. It can be directed into specific momentum such as disease, radioactivity, pollution, crime, war, and the healing of the nations and the soul of a planet. And where you are yet ignorant of just what you ought to produce for yourself and others, you can, in a gentle, childlike manner, ask God to produce out of the great pool of his light energy the miracle of his healing love, not only in your life, but in the lives of your loved ones, but also in the lives of the multitudes in the world at large. You can ask the power of God and the kingdom of heaven to come into manifestation upon earth. You can ask for the golden age to be born, for an end to strife and struggle and all negative and hateful manifestations. You can ask for love to take dominion over the world. If you will open your heart to the needs of the world and to the love of the Divine Mother that seeks expression through your uplifted consciousness, limitless ideas for universal service will flow into your mind. And eventually the great alchemist will teach you the seraphic science, whereby you shall produce that wondrous final change of which Paul spoke. Behold, I shew you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised, incorruptible, and we shall be changed. Praise the Lord for the great alchemist that lives within, that lives within me, that lives within you, and we live within him. Feel that it is critical that we get to the point that we're able to manifest the cloud at a moment's notice. This is why I think Chananda said it's like a magician's trick, ever available up the sleeve of the Chila. How can it be ready to be drawn forth at a moment's notice? We have to meditate for long periods, or do decrees, or even perform a whole ritual. I believe these are just tools to an end. The end is that we're able to very quickly use the great central sun magnet of the heart, our third eye vision, and the science of picturization, along with a few fiery fiats, to bring the cloud into nearly instant manifestation. As I have practiced working with the cloud over the past numbers of months, I have used the science of picturization during meditation or periods of relaxation, or when decreeing, or right before going to sleep. I engage the magnet of my heart and the power of precipitating third eye vision to manifest this cosmic energy around me. I find the more I practice, the better I am able to magnetize cosmic energy. Interestingly, I started with Saint Germain's pre-cloud instructions from the I Am teachings. It was in this early instruction he advocated the visualization of light surrounding and enveloping the body for a period of 15 minutes of intense concentration. In Unveiled Mysteries, he explains, before retiring at night and first thing in the morning, using the visualization exercise will do wonders for anyone who will make the necessary effort. This simple exercise started me on the path to working with the cloud again. So we are setting up a page on the SAF website that can give all of us the tools to develop our mastery of infinite energy. We'll have 3 different procedures there. We're going to post the audio meditation that you will do today, so you can do it regularly if you want. We're going to have a written, abbreviated cloud ritual with invocations that you can use during your daily spiritual practice sessions, or it can be used as a ritual for worship services. Saint Germain recommended this in his Ascension Day address in 1994, saying, "Blessed ones, you may create for yourselves under the guidance of the messenger an abbreviated form of the sacred ritual for the creation of the cloud, whereby with a few fiats each day you may reaffirm and visualize that cloud, not as a cloud of unknowing, but as a cloud of knowing that when the cloud is around you, you have a suitable vessel for the descent of your I Am presence upon you." And lastly, we'll have a full version of the cloud that we will use on the 4th Saturday night of the month at our Saint Germain rally. In this longer version, I have incorporated some of the dispensations other masters have given with respect to the intensification of the cloud process. Ascended Master John the Beloved implores us to understand the tremendous power of group meditation in the sacred ritual for the creation of the cloud. This ritual is surely a testimony in and of itself to the works of God in his sons and daughters. And this cloud of knowing does come to you, and you feel it now and then. And it is the holiness of the Lord, holiness unto the Lord. And you see why the ancient priests had these words inscribed upon their foreheads. Our 4th Saturday night Saint Germain rally will focus on using the absorptive powers of the cloud and the absorptive powers of light to absorb many times its weight in misqualified substance. Our beloved Queen of Light expounded on this point, saying, "So now, blessed ones, contemplate the seeking and finding of your adeptship by commitment to light. One purpose light, one all-consuming light. O blessed hearts, it is your commitment to light that is the entree into the heart of every ascended master, archangel, cosmic being, and elemental. I advocate that you espouse in some measure, not entirely sure, this calling of light. For light is needed in the earth, in the depths of the earth, and under the seas, and in the atmosphere. Light, even as the cloud that you invoke, upon which you meditate for precipitation. Create in the cloud, so let the cloud of light come forth. I tend to you with the goddess of light and the goddess of purity, we 3 ever maintaining El Morya's 3 dots in the cosmic sense of light. Light, light, light. This we do, beloved, and in this moment I desire you to contemplate the absorptive attribute of light, whereby the light can absorb all toxins, pollutants, radioactive fallout, and all debris of the astral plane. The capacity of light to absorb is indeed increased by the concentration of the many points of light within the cloud upon which you meditate. Sanat Kumara also speaks of this absorptive power of light. May I introduce the twin flames, the mighty Snow King and the Snow Queen, whose light has graced in ancient times the land known as Greenland, beloved ones. And thus they ruled there in era when all was tropical and beautiful, and therefore the name remained. Beloved hearts, dwelling in the white fire core of the holy purpose of this ancient civilization, these twin flames release in this hour the light of a cosmic snow, which comes upon the earth as a cloud of infinite energy, such as you call forth according to the alchemy and ritual of Saint Germain. Therefore, beloved, know that this light of cosmic snow has the same absorptive qualities as the cloud of infinite energy. Blessed ones, this cosmic snow is able to absorb 10,000 times its own weight of each particle in human creation and substance of the astral plane. Such is the quality of this light throughout the world, and a new purity of light goes forth in a clearing action that comes in answer to your calls to the violet flame. And finally, the beloved great divine director requested that we call forth a cloud of violet flame from our beloved Gautama Buddha, Lord of the world. I submit to you that in this hour of Wesak, that you pledge your hearts to the Lord of the world to amplify and blend your causal bodies of violet flame with his own, that Saint Germain might have in you, multiplying your forces with a Gautama, a champion, and that a sphere of light, a violet flame, might grow between the causal body of Gautama and your own attainment here below. And that causal body should begin as a cloud the size of a man's hand, and should grow and grow and grow, that the earth might be contained within this fiery cloud of violet flame. Will you not take the ritual of the cloud given to you by Saint Germain in your intermediate studies in alchemy, and take the tape of this and offer the ritual of the cloud and call forth a cloud of violet flame from the causal bodies of every member of the Great White Brotherhood in heaven and on earth. This, beloved, will give pause to the lords of karma and the 24 elders, and cause that there is to be a mitigation of those prophecies that have been released through our messenger. So at our Saturday night cloud service, we will charge our cloud with the transmuting power of the violet flame before we release it, that it might grow and grow and grow from the size of our oars, and that the earth might be covered in this fiery violet flame cloud. I hope that I have conveyed to you in this short discourse some of the Master's key ideas about spiritual alchemy and the great spiritual tool released by Saint Germain with the creation of the cloud. Please understand, however, that the full power and glory can only unfold within the concepts of continued study and implementation of the Master's concepts. Therefore, through your conscious experimentations with the cloud, you can surround yourself with the means of producing sacred change, change that is hallowed, God-willed, and accepted by enlightened free will. Now, please prepare for our meditation on magnetizing infinite energy. Please still all outer activity, both body and mind. Remember always the words of our beloved Master. One becomes that which he meditates, and since all things come forth from the light, light is supreme, perfection, and God control of all things. We will now engage in our guided meditation. In intermediate studies in alchemy, Saint Germain explains that man is not truly free till he has the power to create. He goes on to explain that one of the most effective means by which change can be produced is through the creation of the cloud of infinite energy. We will now participate in an experiment of creative alchemy through meditative absorption, the science of picturization, the fiery magnet of the heart, and the power of the word. We will create, but really magnetize, a cloud of radiant energy that is everywhere present, but nowhere manifest until it is called into action. So during this process, go about thinking big. Big as Elohim, and see what you can do to stop planetary cataclysm. You will be amazed when you enter into the heart of your I Am presence, and you're able to see infinite energy, power, light, consciousness flow through you. And lo and behold, the earth is at peace where you are, and perhaps in wider rings from where you are. Face your altar. Honor the living God and his fiat, for he who is God has commanded it. Take dominion. You are rightfully functioning then as you do just that. The radiance of the heart is the alchemical key in all experiments of the Spirit. When you fully realize the intensity of this flame, nothing shall be impossible unto you, as the love magnet of the heart magnetizes the fire enfolding itself within you. See your soul rise now by the shaft of Mother Light into the secret chamber of the heart, into the white fire core of being. As you enter the Holy of Holies, stand before your inner altar, the wondrous place of change where you meet your God in the white fire core of true being. Bow now before your own blessed and beloved Redeemer. Bless Christ's self, Holy One of Israel. Saint Germain instructs you now through this Christ self, and he says, the power of vision is central to our invocation. Therefore we shall create in our minds first a milky white radiance. Think upon a day when the heavens were clear and you looked up as a child and saw the vast Milky Way for the first time. Close your eyes and see with your inner sight this vision intensify and become more solid. See it as a milky white radiance, an electronic vibratory action of vital, moving, ineffable light. It is alive, pulsating. It is no longer a mere memory or a photograph. It is pulsating before you. It is moving, quivering, becomes more and more brilliant. It is the concentration of light, which we call the density of light, which makes the milky white color. The more concentrated the light, the more dense is the cloud. We want an intense force field of density. We want millions of these focal points of light to gather and swirl and be summoned. Energy is universally available in space, and the magnet of the great central sun draws it out from the flame of the heart. By the magnet of your heart's fire, magnetize millions of focal points of light that are summoned in alignment to the magnet of your being, summoned in alignment with the alpha-omega polarity, that are everywhere present in space, but nowhere manifest until summoned by you into action, from the enormous power of God stored in every point in space. Now, having created in your mind this form of a bright, translucent cloud, allow it to enfold your physical body and to occupy your force field. For a moment, become lost in the midst of the cloud. Its atmosphere is familiar, comfortable. Seems as though it has always been there. Now let your mind draw a circle around the self, around the cloud. Let the cloud be the auric egg, with a definite circle that forms the edge of the cloud. The cloud intensifies within it, presses against it, intensifies. Feel the great brilliancy of the light and intensify it in every cell of your body as more and more light is summoned within your auric egg. Becomes more and more intense, more brilliant, more vital, more pulsating. Extend this bright and shining cloud to 9 feet in diameter around you, emanating from your heart, 4.5 feet in every direction. Establish the visual as a one-pointed concentration within your third eye. The complete auric egg is filled with light, and your inner all-seeing eye of God, spherical in its seeing, is beholding the entire cloud at once. Now intensify the vibratory action of the cloud by coalescing more and more light around each central point of light. For our cloud is composed of many light points whose auras diffuse and blend with one another, making the total effect one of a lacy, yet highly concentrated white radiance, a pure swirling cloud of cosmic energy. Intensify the vibratory action of your cloud by the rheostat of the mind with a simple twist of the dial of consciousness to coalesce more and more light around each central point of light. Turn up the light in your force field just as you would increase the intensity of dimmed light bulbs in your home by a simple twist of a dimmer switch, and maintain this intensity. You are amplifying an intense action of light from within its own force field, more than would normally manifest in a given area. Visualize the billion points of light you have created, oscillating, vibrating in the cloud. Every point of light releases a sound of the Om. The sound of the word is heard as your voice, your sound, your vibration, your blueprint, which is the blueprint of Almighty God, your mighty I Am presence. Wherever your cloud goes, there you go, staking your claim to hallowed space, to universal life. Remember, your cloud is an intelligent, self-luminous presence. Your cloud, in reality, is yourself. All of God is really yours. Once this creative cloud is dispersed, while it may begin as a cloud the size of a man's hand, it will grow and grow and grow and continue to expand and expand and expand, eddying in ever-widening spheres, simply hallowing space wherever it expands. As a globe of translucent white fire, the entire earth might be contained within this fiery cloud of infinite energy and be hallowed by its effect. Now release this self-intelligent cloud from your force field, turning it over to your higher self, to your God presence to sustain it for the required period to perform its holy work. And continue to amplify this light as it echoes, reverberates, and resounds over the entire earth. Hold this vision of the cloud of infinite energy over our planet as long as you can. The lever of attention is the key to the word incarnate within you. Each time your mind is tempted to look at something else, to take its attention off the white light, bring it back, summon it back, pull the reins, discipline the mental body, discipline the seeing of your inner sight. Say, by God, I will concentrate on the white light to prove to myself that I can be one-pointed in any activity. Let us chant the Om as we continue to direct and precipitate our cloud as it penetrates and hallows every inch of space on Terra. As you gain spiritual power through these periods of meditation upon the cloud, which at first should not exceed 15 minutes a day, you find that as time goes on, the glow of the cloud will softly suffuse itself through your physical body. As this takes place, there will come a sharpening of the mind and a new sense of awareness of all life everywhere. Now cease your concentration. Open your eyes. Stand and shake your arms and put your feet up and down if need be. The light is the kingdom. Enter into it and be at peace. Amen.